Hello, reporter room investigators. Welcome to our live stream. Welcome to Las Vegas Girl 122. Just became a channel member. So happy to have you. Glad you guys are here. Come on in. Come on in. We have a lot of stuff to get into on the Bryan Kohberger Idaho 4 case. I wanted to clear one thing up. Let me just grab this really quick. My computer's sending out notifications. I got a notice today, and it was from another channel. I'm not going to say who it was, but just thanking me for calling into their show and um, also talking about me being a former law enforcement person. I don't know who called into their show, but I just wanted to let you guys know that it wasn't me that called into this other content creators show. I've never called into anybody's show before. So it's not their fault. I don't know who's, punking. This person also mentioned Grizzly True Crime and Truth and Transparency. And the interview room name was also thrown out there and then finally settled on reporter room. So I don't know what's going on, but I'm not going to be calling into any shows. So if you happen to be in a live stream and you see somebody calling in, it's not me. So I just wanted to clear that up. We have so much stuff to get into. Let's go ahead and get started.
This is Reporter Room with Jessica Della Davies.
I wanted to thank our producers. These are people this is a channel membership level that you can join, and our channel members. Oh, I'll run the channel members again at the end. I'm sorry. I know we covered up a couple of names. I'm sorry about that. So anyway, we have a lot of stuff to get into. We're going to start on. So I came on a little bit flustered today because I just really wasn't expecting to have somebody pretending to be me. I have never been impersonated before on a channel, but she did initially introduce herself as somebody else and then ultimately did say it was me. Let me say hello to the chat. Hello, Glitters and Gold. Glad you're here. Hi, Tracy. Hello, Florence. Great to see you. Hi, Arlene. Please give this a thumbs up if you haven't already. Cynthia is already asking questions. Great. I love your questions. Why does law enforcement still have his data information? I thought during discovery, the prosecution has to turn over everything to the defense. Well, I can't answer that question. I don't even know if it's true. This was something that Ann Taylor has said. We heard two claims. One is that she has so much evidence to go through that she needs another whole year to go through it. And then the other claim was that she doesn't have anything. I think both claims can be true. But my understanding is that, I have seen her file motions in the past claiming not to get things. And it was stuff that was being litigated, which means that the judge hadn't determined that the defense team was entitled to it because maybe it contained somebody's name or identifying information that didn't have anything to do with the case. So the judge goes through all of that. I hope I've answered your question. Sonia says, I'm pretty sure it can escalate to, yes, consequences. I agree. Hi, Lolo. Lolo said, oh, thanks, Lolo. I really appreciate that. That means a lot. Hi, Tara. And if you guys see the check marks in the chat, those are our channel members. And you can subscribe and become a channel member as well. Hi, Jane. Happy Sunday to you. And this is just me saying hello. Come on in. Come on in. Give this a thumbs up. And Las Vegas Girl just became a channel member. Mama is here. Hey, hey. Native is here. Stacy is here. Mike is here. Maymay's here. Sheila Hippet. Hello, Crime on a Dime. Good to see you. Devo is here. Las Vegas Girl just became a channel member. All right. So let's go ahead. We have a lot of stuff to get into. I do want to get started with you guys. I'm assuming you guys can hear me. Okay. Mike says, I think there could be signs there was DNA, but he cleaned it up, so it's not DNA now. Ann says no evidence of cleaning. Not true. They surveilled. Yeah, my understanding is they sat there, law enforcement sat and watched him cleaning. I would assume they took pictures. Defense attorneys, they're going to say what they're going to say. Prosecution attorneys are going to say what they're going to say. As long as they believe it's true, they can say it. Like we heard Jose Baez claim what he said about George Anthony in the Casey Anthony trial. I'm not going to repeat what it is, but he made a claim that I do not believe was true. But, he said it in open court. He said it on a televised thing. So I do think that, take it with a pinch of salt, a little bit of skepticism. Do I agree with the house being torn down? No, I don't, Pippet. I do not. I feel like I stand with the families of the victims on this. I don't think they should be torn down. Donna says maybe that wasn't Brian's car. There are several white Hyundai Elantras that could be related to the incident. Yes, I've seen this come up in the chat, Donna. I'm glad you brought it up. I think that law enforcement is going to show you that it is his car. I think they're going to have something identifying about that car on one of the surveillance videos. Remember, I shared with you last week that Washington's that the Idaho State Police, the FBI, and the Moscow PD shared 5 camera images of that Hyundai Elantra with law enforcement in Pullman, Washington, both at the university and the Pullman, Washington PD. So I think that they will be able to identify. And I think this is why Ann Taylor did have to put him on in the car driving around. And I have some stuff I want to show you. I've been getting some comments, where did you find this? Where did you look this up? And it was kind of almost like I almost I did laugh like almost a little bit yesterday because I had one person tell me that this was old news, that they already knew about it. And then the comment I read right after that was that it was fake news. So I was just like, okay. So it's been interesting to read the reactions. But it had no front plate. Yeah, I think it's going to be more than that too. Brian is innocent until proven guilty, but I am talking about this case in terms of him because he's the only one who has been indicted. He's the only one that's sitting in jail. He's the only one under arrest. So I am going to be talking about this case in terms of him. This is a journalistic channel. It's called Reporter Room. So hopefully that, lets people know. So we do use lots of sources, including journalistic sources. These aren't the only sources, but they are some of them. Lolo says she was very worried about police getting his DNA for some reason. I just think if the police wanted to set somebody up, there would have been a lot of easier patsies than this guy. I think they could have, easily blamed one of the roommates or set up Brent Kolpaka or somebody else. I think there's a lot easier patsies than this guy if they wanted to set someone up. I just don't think that the Moscow PD, the Idaho State Police, and the FBI and all of their agents are all making this up. Mike says they traced that car in his phone. It's the car on the video at Albertsons. Exactly. Michelle says he did it as if it was me and I hadn't done it. I would want to go to court ASAP within 6 months. I wouldn't be locked up. Oh, okay. So yeah, you're him sitting in jail. Yeah, I don't know. He said he was going to be exonerated. Then we got this bizarre alibi, this weird alibi. And then we have him, sitting now agreeing to sit in jail until 2025. So what I think, this is my theory. I'm going to share my theory with you on what I think is really going on with that stance from the defense in just a second. But let's get into, Mama says, rumor check. Has anyone checked the white Hyundai Elantra over the border found crashed in Washington? I'm sure law enforcement would have checked it out, Mama. Thanks for asking. All right, let's get into the video because I have a bunch of packages to get through. Last time I had so much stuff to get through, I ran out of time. Let me grab a sip of water. And just again, rumor alert, somebody is posing as a part of Reporter Room, representing Reporter Room, saying that they're me and that they're not a quack, and called into another YouTube channel. I don't call into other people's YouTube channels. I've appeared on one other YouTuber's channel that was John Davis True Crime. That's the only channel I've ever been on. I've had YouTubers guest on my show, but I've never guested on somebody else. I would, but I would be on camera. You guys would be able to see my face, but I don't just call in to shows. So hopefully let other content creators know if you happen to see somebody calling in saying they're with me or they represent my channel. No. So, all right, let's get started on this and then we'll go back to the chat. Okay, so a lot of people in the comment section wanted to know about this Idaho suspect allegedly stalked another female student months before what happened on November 13th of 2022. This is been put out by Fox News. Um, they would have vetted their sources. They wouldn't have just run with the story. So that's why I like to use journalistic sources. So it was an apparent ruse. This is according to Fox News that ended with BK installing surveillance cameras in a woman's home, which he could then access at will. Okay, so let's find out what happened, and then I have a bunch of new stuff to go into, too, including some information um, about Kaylee. So, the daughter of Dennis Rader, that's the BTK, also weighed in on that. She said, if it's true and Bryan was involved, then it really is a sign of escalation and another potential nail in his guilt. The report also detailed, so this is a report. The report also detailed involving women's underwear. And I'm going to talk to you more about that in just a second. From just 3 doors down from the 1122 King Road house. I saw this video about a year ago on Evil Exists. If you want to go watch it, it was about a year ago. And I actually saw the video and was focused in on another detail. I didn't cover this part because at the time, BK had not been arrested yet, and I was not. So this was before his arrest. So this would have been posted sometime in December, around Christmas time, I believe. But Evil Exists has a video on this woman. In the most ominous claim, it was suggested that BK's immediate family feared that he might be a suspect as they gathered for the holidays. So his own family was worried about this. But here's the home security camera story for those of you guys who didn't know where this came from. Let me just share it with you really quick, and then we're going to dig into a whole bunch of other stuff. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Jessica Davies. I'm an investigative journalist. My job is to investigate crimes, potential suspects, and criminals, and share with you suspects, crime scenes, and evidence. Everything I'm sharing is my opinion. Please subscribe, smash that like button, and leave me a comment in the comment section. Thank you to our subscribers, our mods, our channel members. And the channel members are the ones with the blue, green, and red verified check marks. So today we're going to be discussing patterns and escalations, that underwear incident that I just referenced, and Kaylee's Bluetooth. We have a lot of stuff to get into. And if you're the type of person that can handle different points of view, then you're at the right channel, because this is a critical thinkers channel. We have a lot of smart subscribers. Our viewers are highly intelligent, capable of considering new information that may challenge their current information that they have, and ultimately you, the viewers, decide for yourselves what you believe and what you do not believe. But according to Fox News, BK did allegedly stalk a female classmate at Washington State University months before the 1122 King Road house. And I'm sharing this with you because I am establishing a pattern of behavior that escalated in what happened on November 13th of 2022 at the 1122 King Road house. I'm watching my words. So this bombshell allegation was revealed in an NBC Dateline episode titled The Killings on King Road, and it was also reported out by Fox News, which is what I'm sharing with you right now. And it reported that BK is now a strong suspect in the initial break-in. So let's go through the article together. So a female friend of BK's, they met at Washington State University in his criminology program. Reportedly, he came home from wherever she had been and found her belongings shuffled out of place. but nothing was stolen, so she did not initially report it to the police. She has reported it now. Instead, she asked BK. Now, BK had previously worked as a security guard, had his master's degree in criminal justice. I believe he was tending and befriending her. He asked him to set up a home surveillance system, or did he offer? I'm looking forward to her taking the stand. So, afterward, according to the source cited by the Dateline NBC, BK could access the cameras anytime he wanted within the woman's Wi-Fi range. Okay? So this was initially reported out by NBC Dateline. I can't air that because I would get a copyright claim, but I did want to show you the article that you guys can go through and read for yourselves. Let me catch up with chat for a second, and then I have another package that I'm going to share with you. I have 5 packages total today. We have a lot to get through. Okay. And Jackie says that I was going to say the neighbor had her car broken into. Well, there's a neighbor that was just a few doors down that said, she came out and said that somebody had gone through her stuff. So was this him? I don't know. Let me back up check for a second, though, because I am behind. And let's see where we are. Okay, I believe we were here. Michelle says, he did it as if it was me. I hadn't done it. I wouldn't want to go to court ASAP. Within 6 months, I wouldn't stay locked up. Okay, I believe that's the last comment we left up on. Mike says, meticulously cleaned his car every inch. They said, this is law enforcement said that. Said more than once. Yes, you're right, Mike. Pam says, in Washington state, front plates are mandatory. So unusual to see no front plate. Yes, I think that was one of the things that helped law enforcement narrow down the Hyundai Elantras. It wasn't the only thing, but it was one of the things. Lolo shared my live stream on Facebook. Thanks, you guys, for sharing it out on social. I really appreciate you guys. And Mike says he only had a rear Pennsylvania plate, and 5 days after, he changed his plates to Washington plates, front and rear. So a lot of people have asked, why would he use his own car? It's because he knew he was going home. In my opinion, he's innocent until proven guilty, but in my opinion, I believe he changed his plates because he knew he was going home to Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. This trip was planned with his dad. He knew he was going to change his tags, and that's exactly what he did. He changed his front and back plates on the Hyundai Elantra. Native American says he waived his right to a speedy trial, in my opinion, because he knows they're going after the capital punishment. Yeah, probably. And Ann Taylor says she has so much stuff. She thinks it's going to take her another year to go through it. She's also having trouble getting witnesses to testify. So I'm just wondering, does this mean she's having trouble getting expert witnesses to testify to what she wants them to testify to? Or is she having trouble getting, she talked about mediation. That would happen if the person was convicted, right? So he did meet this woman. He did tend and befriend her, and nothing was stolen. People have said, why didn't she report it to the police? Well, because nothing was stolen, and her friend said he would install a security system. So I don't know if you guys have, I had a couple people say, well, if it wasn't reported to the police, she made it up. And I don't think she made it up, guys. I don't think law enforcement thinks she made it up. So if you haven't seen if you've never tried to report something to law enforcement as a woman or maybe as a child and seen how they react, so a lot of times you'll get turned into the criminal. So just not reporting something doesn't mean somebody is making it up. It just means they didn't report it for whatever reason. But I do believe that Dateline NBC would have vetted their sources, as would Fox News. So, that's my feeling on it. This is a pattern of behavior, and in my opinion, it's also a sign of escalation of the same stalking types of behavior. Former profiler Greg Cooper told Dateline that the incident was a quote step in progression for BK to move from breaking into a house when no one was home, installing cameras to spy, and then breaking in when multiple people were there. But I believe that his cell phone was accessing Kaylee's Bluetooth, and I'm going to tell you why in just a second. So I believe this was a pattern. So remember, both his sisters, I've been told, oh, well, BK's sister only said this because she doesn't like him. She may love her brother. Remember, BK's sisters both have mental health degrees, but they found BK's behavior when he returned to Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, odd. And they allegedly pieced this together with his white Hyundai Elantra. They also saw him cleaning the car, and she reportedly floated the idea to the family that BK was the suspect. So his own sister believed that he was capable of doing this, and she has degrees in mental health. Both his sisters are mental health professionals. And criminal profiler John Kelly asked such an important question. What happened in the past for her, he's talking about BK's sister, to think he's such a monster, a man without mercy who slashed 4 kids? But her suspicions were so great that at one point, reportedly, several families searched BK's white Hyundai Elantra for evidence. So let's talk about the underwear incident. There was a previous case in which a woman called Moscow police. Now, she did report this to the police, that someone had tampered with her car and stuffed underwear in her cup holder. And of course, I don't think she ever got a resolution on this. This was just near where the 1122 King Road house was. We also know that Xana's father was changing the locks on her door, and Kaylee had reported to her loved ones that she thought she had a stalker. So let's go on to the next part. Let me grab this. Okay. So we're talking about patterns of behavior here, guys. That's what we're looking at. We're looking at patterns. Can you guys see this okay? Okay, let me catch up with chat for a second, and then we're going to do the next package. And then after this, we have 3 more packages to go. The Native American says he waived his right to a speedy trial, in my opinion, because he knows. Yeah, okay, that's where we left off, I believe. Mike says he doesn't mind waiting for another year for a trial. I don't think he's eager to be exonerated. Well, he has it pretty good in jail, right? Yeah, people are nuts. I've gotten some, really good comments. I love reading your comments, but there's been like some that I feel like even if I had a video of him doing it, they would then just say, and I don't. But even if I could produce that, I still think there's people who would say, you know, he didn't do it. So I think and this is a very small faction. Most people, um, have their feelings whether he did it or didn't do it. That's okay. Um, Bebe says, does anyone know if it's true about the students who went to the hospital the day after the crime with cuts on their hands? No, I don't. I haven't heard anything from any type of confirmed, like what I would consider a credible source on that, maybe. Hi, Brother Mike. Good to see you. I don't watch Fox News. That's okay. You can watch it on Dateline. I'm just providing Fox News because I can show that article without getting a copyright strike. How horrible. I wonder if he's done that to other women. Well, that's what I'm trying to show, a pattern of behavior. Enjaz is here. Hi, Enjaz. Mike says, yeah, they knew they were going to waive the speedy trial. Their only chance is throwing out the DNA evidence. It's a long road, but nothing will work for the defense. Yeah, and to be clear, they tried for a 3rd time to get the grand jury indictment thrown out. They've tried 3 times now, and that got they got told no on that. MN says, how many weeks did Leo's law enforcement officers stalk and surveil BK's family? Well, my understanding is that they were at the Albrightsville, Pennsylvania house beginning on January 27th. I'm sorry, December 27th, and he was arrested on December 30th. Las Vegas Girl says, I think he did it and is playing the game to see if he can get away with it. He's a criminology major and believes that he is the smartest person in the room, that he really wanted to commit a crime like that. And Jackie is saying, yes, I was going to say a neighbor had her car broken into. Yes, she did. And Mike says, yeah, they watched him. I don't think they watched him for a month, but I don't know how long they watched him. But what I've been able to confirm is that, and this was from the affidavit that we went through, is that they had him under surveillance from January 27th through January 30th when they arrested him. And he was in when they arrested him, he was in the house wearing those medical grade gloves, separating out his trash from his parents' trash. So, I just think that's kind of wackadoodle do. Let's go on with this. Let me take one more comment. We'll take two more questions and then I'm going to go on to the next thing. Sonia's saying, please smash the like button. Yeah, please help me out with the algorithm. Share this on your social media sites. Help me get it out. Las Vegas Girl says he was also angry that they were beautiful girls who wouldn't give him the time of day. So he exacted on his revenge and is enjoying playing with the judicial system. And MN says, I want to say M&Ms. MN says, when did law enforcement officers find the sheath? Was it after they left for Pennsylvania? And said, no, and sent the touch DNA. This is another great question. Thanks for asking this. No, according to the affidavit, which we went through in last week's video, that Officer Pruitt spotted the knife sheath underneath and to the side of Maddie that day when he was called to the scene. So they found it that day. So let's continue on. Let's go through this one because we have a lot of information to go through. And I don't want us to get behind. So let me just see this. Okay. All right. So cell phone data shows that BK was often in the same location as Kaylee, Maddie, Xana, and one of their boyfriends, that's Ethan, before he allegedly did what he did. He also seemed very careful about not leaving fingerprints in public, even as he fled to his native state of Pennsylvania. He's not stupid and has been very careful, said a source who claimed to be good friends with one of the law enforcement officers who had surveilled the scene. I would take that that little statement with a grain of salt because it's not a law enforcement officer, it's a friend of a law enforcement officer. So I don't put too much stock in that particular comment. But you guys can take in all the information and decide for yourselves. You're very intelligent. Viewers of this channel are intelligent. And you guys, I want to bring you all the information so you can decide for yourselves what you believe, what you don't believe. So he followed him into a giant Pennsylvania grocery store chain, and BK, this is a law enforcement officer, followed him in, and he wore his gloves the entire time. Not sure if they ever interacted, but his cell phone pings followed their every move for weeks. His cell phone pings followed their every move for weeks. And this is what I was bringing up in the last video, that this is a pattern of stalking behavior that began as early as August of 2022, just 2 to 3 months before the Kaylee, Maddie, Ethan, and Xana were done away with. And we know BK was pulled over and hit after leaving the area, and his phone was pinging. So did his phone connect with Kaylee's Bluetooth? We know that Kaylee was reportedly had a stalker. She had reported to her parents that she had a stalker. She told her friends she had a stalker. And so and you'll recall that John Jack Showalter walked Kaylee and Maddie Dunn down from the corner club to the grub truck. He watched over them until the girls got into an Uber-like vehicle to head home. So it's been reported that Kaylee was insisting that traveling in groups and asking her friends to walk with her. So I believe she asked John Jack Showalter to walk her and Maddie down to that grub truck. And as I shared with you in last week's live stream, law enforcement was able to link the Hyundai Elantra and also link the to BK's cell phone. This included those 2 traffic stops. One I showed you where he got pulled over about the crosswalk and talked himself out of the ticket. So law enforcement was able to determine Law enforcement was able to determine each time BK's cell phone pinged at the tower closest to the 1122 King Road house. Now, on the night of November 13th of 2022, BK had his phone in airplane mode or switched off. Why? Why was it in airplane mode or switched off on that night and not the other 12 times he visited the King Road house? Because Bluetooth devices are to some degree traceable. They're trackable. So the concept of Bluetooth surveillance is another way that I believe law enforcement tracked BK. Kaylee had a Bluetooth, and this is why I believe they have not returned Kaylee's items to her. She had a Bluetooth. We know law enforcement has not returned her computer, laptop, Apple Watch to Christy and Steve Gonzalez. And I believe that the prosecution has more than just cell phone pings and more than just video cam of the Hyundai Elantra. I believe that Kaylee's Bluetooth connected with BK's cell phone. Now, was he doing this intentionally to voyeur, to peep? Or was she using a personal hotspot and his phone connected in to her Bluetooth without her knowledge? He would have been very close to the house on King Road. And I'm going to talk about some bizarre details revealed in Friday's hearing in just a second, but BK would have been very close to the house on 1122 King Road house. This isn't a new development. The Bluetooth tracking devices were introduced over a decade ago. They can follow you. People can use it to stalk using hundreds of different tracking apps. It's easy to slip one inside somebody's purse or pocket, even a car. But in this case, I believe the prosecution has evidence that Kaylee's Bluetooth actually was connecting with his. And I don't know if it was intentional or unintentional, but that is what I believe. And I believe this shows a pattern of stalking. So his cell phone pings followed their every move for weeks. How did he know where they were going? How did he know where they were going? And my source for this is the New York Post. So, how did he know where they were going? Let me bring up the next. Let me take a couple questions in chat. I have another one to do. We're going to talk about Bluetooth surveillance in just a second. So, please stay with me. Please post me some questions in the chat if you haven't already. Mike said, I bet he didn't expect it to go that bad. Dog barking probably really messed things up. Yeah. I don't know if it was Murphy that was alerting or if it was a neighbor's dog alerting, but there was a dog barking. He would have encountered Ethan and Xana. I don't think he was expecting that. I don't think he was expecting Kaylee and Maddie to be in the same room. Remember, Dylan said she heard someone. She thought it was Kaylee playing with her dog. Well, I think he went into Kaylee's room first. Leave now. After and you know, my theories are in flux. Tell me what you think in the comment section below because you might have some different theories. But I think he went in to see Kaylee in her room. She wasn't there. Closed the door, and this is why Dylan heard the dog hopping around a little bit. And then he went into Maddie's room, and Kaylee sat up, and we know now she was found sitting up against the wall. So she was upright. And she said, someone's here. Pam says, wow, the ultimate manipulation. Yeah, it's really scary. It is really, really scary. Hi, Jane. Hi, Jazz. Leanne says he hated girls like them because that girls that look like them rejected him. Yeah, this goes back to the Papa Rogers account, which I do believe. I was just full disclosure. I was in the chat room with Papa Roger. I was in that chat room at the time. So I just want to like put that out there ahead of time. I at the time did not believe that this was him. I had no idea that this was him, but he seemed to have a lot of information about the crime and seemed very confident in the answers. And we know from other SKs that these guys like to insert themselves into cases. So the idea that he was inserting himself into a chat room would not be scary. But most people who are incels, who are involuntarily celibate, they don't bother anybody. They don't bother anybody. This is extremist group. Hi, Crystal. Welcome. Mary Lou says, poor girl could have been a target. Yeah. Exactly. So we have two different reports. One that was 3 doors down. It's called the underwear incident. And then we have this other one also that I shared with you. And Evil Exist has her whole video if you want to check it out after this live stream is over. It would have been posted sometime toward the end of December of 2022. Lolo says, yes, beautiful women want nothing to do with him. I don't believe it was about looks only, but most accounts say he was very strange, even creepy. Yeah, we've seen that over and over, right? Where people have said, and Ann Taylor even got up in court and said she was trying to work on the mitigation phase. Well, what the mitigation phase is, that's after someone's found guilty, which she does have to prepare for. This is a 2-part trial because of capital punishment. She does have to prep for that. So I don't read anything into the fact that she's prepping for mitigation phase. I've heard people say, "Oh, that's because she knew he was going to be found. She knows he's going to be found guilty." I don't read that into that. I think she's preparing for the mitigation phase because that's her job, um, and she has to prep for that because this is a 2-part case. But I think it's interesting that she can't get anybody to come forward for him. She says she's having trouble. She can't force someone to come in and say they think he should live and this is why. She can't she can't compel them to come in and be a witness on his behalf. So, um, MN says, does anyone have a timeline of law enforcement's planned trips to Pennsylvania and law enforcement's timeline of when and where they supposedly found the sheath? Yes, the affidavit goes through it, and I went through that in last week's live stream. Jackie says, I do not think she made it up. Enjaz says, I think he has been a voyeur for a very long time. If you think that this woman that came forward, that was a student at WSU, that he installed cameras to peep on her, if you think that that is true, put true in the chat. If you think she made it up, put false in the chat. Just like to do an informal poll. Mike says, yeah, nothing police can do a lot of times. Amelia says, good afternoon. And if you don't know, Amelia is our head mod. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. And Jane says, yes, police will turn you into the suspect. Yeah, it gets twisted around very fast. Hasbro says, Las Vegas girl, 100% revenge. I don't know. Oh, I guess he's talking to Las Vegas girl. That's what I'm thinking. I was like, I don't know who Las Vegas girl is. Lola says, how creepy that he was watching a woman just a few doors down. Gina says, no, she played the judge. He wanted a trial in the summer because of the media and the hotel situation. Ann Taylor agreed with him and countered with the summer of 2025. Obvious several raids. Yeah, I think you're right. And I think that she wants one of two things. She wants a change of venue or she wants more time. Welcome, Jen, as a new channel member to Reporter Room. Lynn Ann says the judge needs to get tougher and just set a trial date, but he does not want Bryan to have reasons to appeal later on. Yeah, I agree. All right, let's go through the next post and then we'll go through more information. So let me grab this one. Let's see if there's anything else in this one we wanted to cover. BK was described as super awkward and a little off by students in the criminal justice and criminology department at WSU. Did not change his routine or behaviors in the week following what happened. I'm watching my words. Police honed in on the DNA evidence and BK's car, which was seen near the site of the 1122 King Road house, the crime scene. An undisclosed forensic evidence was linked to the suspect after it was run through a public database, two law enforcement sources told the network on Saturday. The FBI then tracked BK for 4 days before making an arrest while it worked through the local law enforcement to develop enough probable cause to obtain a warrant. Despite reportedly wearing gloves while shopping and adopting a business as usual routine in the classroom, BK's arrogance may have created a DNA trail that led police to him. So I told you I thought he didn't have an inferiority complex, that I thought he had a superiority complex, not the last live stream, but the one before that. And if somebody was really student of criminal justice and criminology, then he would understand certain things like Locard's exchange principle. I also did a video on Locard's exchange principle, which is that this is a basic forensics principle that every contact leaves a trace. I've seen a lot of people say, oh, he was a criminology student, he wouldn't have left his DNA behind at the crime scene. Well, again, it goes back to Locard's every contact leaves a trace. How did his DNA get on the inside snap of that knife sheath found underneath and to the side of Maddie at the crime scene after the police officers arrived and responded? And you can go through the affidavit, and he explains exactly how he saw that. So this is Professor Joseph Giacoloni. I believe I'm saying this right. He says it shows you the arrogance of people like him, where he thinks he's smarter than cops because he read something in a book. So anyway, let's grab the next one. Let me share this one. Oop. We're going to talk about Kaylee Goncalves' parents. We're going to talk about more about Kaylee in just a second. But I want to talk about Bluetooth surveillance because I got a lot of questions about this too. So this way we can just go through it together. And you guys can just see for yourself. This article is from How Stuff Works. And this was one of the sources that I looked into when I was doing the research on this. So Bluetooth tracking was introduced over a decade ago. It can be used to stalk people, and multiple apps can do this. So I do think that this is important, and I am trying to show you guys patterns because this is going to be a circumstantial case. So what I mean by that is law enforcement does not have a video of him actually doing it. Okay, they're not going to show you a video of him actually committing the crime. It's going to be circumstantial. So it's going to be one thing on top of another thing on top of another thing. And one thing can be explained. Two things can be explained. So you could say, oh, well, he wore gloves because he just liked to wear gloves. He was cleaning his car in the middle of the night wearing gloves because he, liked to clean his car. The DNA was found on the knife sheath because law enforcement put it there. Whatever you want to say. I do not believe that. But that's, some of the comments that I've seen. But what I'm trying to do is show you that this is a circumstantial case. The preponderance of the evidence is beginning to show, and this is my opinion, let me know what you think in the comment section below, is beginning to show a pattern here. So he started with installing cameras into this young woman that went to WSU, the students, to spy on her. And this has been escalating. So I believe law enforcement this is why Ann Taylor is, looking to change venues. This is why the stalling. I believe law enforcement held on to Kaylee's laptop and Apple Watch because his Bluetooth was logging on his phone was logging onto her Bluetooth. He was sitting up there, I believe, sitting in that parking lot behind the 1122 King Road residence. He was looking. The house would have been like a goldfish bowl, but I think he might have also been watching. So imagine you walk through a crowded area, maybe a big shopping district. Maybe you're just doing some window shopping, but you've kept your phone with you and left your Bluetooth in discoverable mode. This allows other Bluetooth phones to locate you. And you get a text message from someone you don't know that says, "We know you are here having fun shopping." Sounds scary, right? It is. But this is the very nature of Bluetooth. This isn't me saying this. This is how stuff works. And I'm sharing the article with you. The fact that it's the very nature of a Bluetooth technology can search for and locate other devices that also have Bluetooth, which has some people concerned. So security's been an issue with Bluetooth technology. Boot jacking, for instance, although it's considered a harmless prank, allows Bluetooth users, I don't know if this is so harmless, let me know what you think, to send out unsolicited messages to nearby devices. So I believe that law enforcement has Kaylee's stuff, and I believe his phone was either intentionally or unintentionally connecting with Kaylee's Bluetooth. She had a Bluetooth. So, does this conjure up the 1984 Big Brother book to you? Um, it has lots of benign uses, but mostly that's to sell you stuff, right? To see what you shop for, what you look at. Um, but remember, Ann Taylor said she had all these gigabytes of evidence to go through. I think this and all this technology to go through, well, I believe this is some of it. So, the most basic feature on Bluetooth enabled devices is to go into one of two modes, discoverable and non discoverable. So, this information is found in the settings option of a device's control panel. When you select whether or not to make your phone or laptop visible to others within the area, you want to pair a Bluetooth keyboard. Let's say she wanted to pair her watch with her laptop, then she would have made herself discoverable. So this is what I believe was going on. So let's talk about Bluetooth positioning and tracking. Locating several Bluetooth users with and you guys should know this, be aware of this, even if this doesn't have anything to do with the case, which I do believe this is why. I do believe this is why her Bluetooth is coming up. But locating several Bluetooth users with typical mobile phones is relatively simple. You can turn your phone on and see which devices are discoverable in your Bluetooth settings. So, is it possible that he was sitting up at the 1122 King Road house and checked? But you can only monitor people moving in and out of your Bluetooth range, which is most likely a 10-meter or 33-foot circle around you. So you would need to go to that address to do it. So I believe that law enforcement is going to be able to place him in the vehicle. I believe it's more than just some cell phone tower pings, which is why Ann Taylor had to put him in that car. I believe his phone was clicking in with Kaylee's phone. And sending back data. So each Bluetooth receiver acts like a regular Bluetooth device. It searches every device within its range. If a person walked down a 328-foot long, 100-meter long street, and each Bluetooth receiver had a range of 10 meters, five people with a radius of 20 meters, 66 feet, would be needed to track that person's movement. So if Kaylee had just even used a hotspot, he would have been able to go in and grab it. So I hope that this answers some of your questions that you guys had in the chat, in the comment section from my last video, where you guys were asking about this. No, this couldn't be, this couldn't happen. Yes, it can, and it does. And I believe that it was happening in this case. And I believe this is why Ann Taylor, one of the reasons that she had to put him in the car. I believe that the prosecution is going to show that he was sitting up behind the 1122 King Road house, and that one of the things that they're going to be able to do to place him there, that the reason that they feel comfortable with a circumstantial case going for the capital punishment is because they are going to be able to show that his phone connected to her Bluetooth. And this is why they've held on to her technology. Let me grab the next one. So I hope I'm answering some of the questions. So let me share this one. This was BK stalking his victims? This is the Crime Wire. So court documents, including the 18-page affidavit released on January 5th of 2023, revealed. Can you guys see this okay? Let me just make sure I'm showing you the same thing I'm looking at. Yes, okay. Revealed how police focused in on their suspect, BK. So was he stalking the victims? Because I believe that he was stalking victims. I think it was escalating. Um, it went from just looking to video surveillance with the WSU student to maybe being able to get into her Bluetooth. So the affidavit revealed that BK drove by the victim's home at least 12 times before November 13th of 2022. It also reveals that BK turned off his cell phone before getting too close to the house on the night of the crimes. So I'm watching my words, turning it back shortly. So why would he have turned his phone off? In my opinion, because his phone was clicking into that Bluetooth. He had to turn it off. Though through the phone pings, authorities know BK returned to the crime scene only hours after he committed the crime, presumably to look for the knife sheath. Officials have not released the exact days that BK stalked the house, but confirmed that as early as August of 2022, he was pulled over only 2 minutes after leaving the area covered by the cell phone tower closest to the 1122 King Road house. This is one of the things. Ann Taylor got up and said, I don't know how they led this to my client. Well, this was one of the ways. He was pulled over. They were able to pull up the last 4 digits of the phone, and it was one of the ways that they got to him. I went through the affidavit step by step and showed you how law enforcement zeroed in on him. So I didn't buy that. But you know, I give her a lot of credit. She's doing what she needs to do, which is her job is to protect her client and to defend her client, which is BK. So it's unclear if BK actually ever met, but we know Kaylee was terrified of a stalker. She felt that someone was following her in the weeks before her death. She insisted on traveling in groups and had friends walk behind her in public. We saw this with John Jack Showalter on the night in question on November 13th. He walked Kaylee and Maddie down from the corner club bar down to the grub truck. Because of the sequence of traffic events, investigators were able to link BK's car and phone number to him and find out each time his device pinged the tower closest to the King Road residence. On the night in question, November 13th of 2022, BK's cell pinged at a tower close to his apartment in Pullman. It was then seen traveling the area of the apartment at 12:47 a.m., traveling south through Pullman, lining up the movements of his white Hyundai Elantra with that caught on video surveillance cameras. His phone then stops reporting to a network consistent with being switched off or switching into airplane mode or being in an area without coverage. The affidavit. So what was he doing at between 12:47 and 4:04 when we can see him arriving, circling the house, entering the house? See, we don't see him entering, but he entered the house, allegedly. He's innocent until proven guilty. Well, I believe he was dextering out his car. That's my theory. Um, the affidavit shows his phone was inactive until 4:48 a.m. traveling southbound on Highway 95 south of Moscow. The phone pinged when he returned to his apartment again, caught off camera when his Elantra drove north on Stadium Drive at 5:27. So I think Ann Taylor saying she doesn't know how law enforcement zeroed in on her client is somewhat disingenuous, because Officer Brett Payne explains in detail during the affidavit, and I went through it with you guys in last week's live stream, how law enforcement, the FBI, the Idaho State Police, and the Moscow PD zeroed in on BK. In the affidavit by Officer Brett Payne says, based on my training experience and the facts of the investigation thus far, I believe Kohberger was the driver of the white Elantra that is departing Pullman, Washington, and that his vehicle is likely suspect vehicle 1. Additionally, the route of travel of the phone during the early morning hours of November 13th and lack of phone reporting to the tower between 12:47 a.m. and 4:48 is consistent with Kohberger attempting to conceal his location during the quadruple crimes. Watching my words. So BK's phone also pinged the Moscow cell tower between 9:12 a.m. and 9:21. I believe this is when he went back And the law enforcement believes the same, that this is when he went back to the crime scene to look for that knife sheath. He would have gotten home, gotten ready to dispose of everything, and realized he did not have it. So he took a chance. He went back there and ran in. Is that when he left the van's shoe print? Or was the van's shoe print somebody else altogether? What do you guys think? Let me check in with chat because we started a poll, and then we're going to go through the aftermath of all of this in just a second. And then I want to talk about Kaylee and how she was found. And I'm also going to talk about Ann Taylor and the latest hearing. So we still have quite a bit to unpack. Hippie Babe says he will plead out before the trial. Gina disagrees. There will be no pleading. That would have happened by now. May says, my house smells of bleach when I clean, but it's not because I'm hiding evidence. I don't think anybody said anybody smelled bleach. I don't think that was said. I don't know. I'm not sure what that's in relation to, but that's okay. But in this case, I do think that he was hiding evidence. Hippie says no deals for BK. He's going to go with trial. You think so? I'm wondering if my feeling about this was I was starting to wonder if the defense was looking for a plea deal. That's why they want to put it off to 2025. And they made a little bit of a veiled threat, in my opinion, when a member of the defense team got up and he said that this was going to go on into appeals for 28 years. He said this was going to go on. So I'm wondering if they are trying to negotiate something with the prosecution. And maybe the prosecution is like, no, we're going to trial on this. No deal for you. I don't know. What do you guys think? Not sure he will plead out. He's very narcissistic. Thanks, Jazz. Leanne says he is the real boogeyman. Mike says he won't say a word. Anna's just going to speak for him. Yeah, he didn't want his voice heard to even say guilty or not guilty. He didn't want his voice heard. I wonder why. Is there a reason? Gina says, BK will not take a pleading if you say because he is a narcissist. It could also be because he's not guilty. Where is the fairness? Fair enough. Catherine says, I love this channel. People try to read the evidence and follow it to logical conclusion. No conspiracy. Thank you, Catherine. That's what I'm trying to do as a journalist, as an investigative journalist. I will go back through and pour over all kinds of old information. People are like, it's old information. Some of it is, but I will take pieces of the puzzle and I will try to put it together with new information that we have coming out. That's why I wanted to go through that affidavit with you guys last week. I wanted to go through it together with you guys as a community and then look at it in terms of what we have, right? What we know now, what we didn't have at the time that this was released, but that we know now. May says, I don't think he did it alone. I think he was watching someone else do it. And the girls could have seen two separate people leaving. I don't know which girls. You're talking about Dylan and the roommates? Dylan and Bethany could have seen two separate. I don't think it was two separate people. I appreciate your theory, and it's okay that we don't agree on this. Is it okay? Do we all have to agree all the time, you guys? Because please tell me that it's okay, that you guys feel confident enough in what you believe that you can hear someone else's opinion and not flip out. That you can hear somebody else's theory and not flip out. It's okay that we don't all agree. When May tells me this, I'm not going, oh my gosh, she doesn't share my opinion. It's okay. You guys are smart. My feeling with this channel is bringing you guys all of the information. You guys can be armed with all of the information so you can make up your own mind of what you think and what you don't think. So she thinks it was two separate people leaving. My belief is that it was Dylan saw the man with a black mask, bushy eyebrows, athletic build, but not muscular, wearing all black, leaving the house. Bethany reportedly saw somebody who didn't have anything on. My feeling is it was the same person. That person stepped on a plastic bag, stripped everything off, dropped it into the bag, had a change of clothes in the car, which I believe was dextered out. But that is my opinion, and it's okay if somebody else has a different opinion because I respect May enough to just say that's okay. We don't all have to believe the same thing. Yeah, so many strange women writing to him. Yeah, we have the women that write to him in prison. That is weird. Mike says, I think they're watching him 2 weeks after the murder. They announced the car like December 5th. I think they were watching him before announcing the car. I don't know. I don't know. That's I it could be. I haven't seen anything. I haven't found anything that would confirm that. But if I do, I will bring it to you. And we're going to go through the rest of this. And I have one more package to share with you after that. Red Metal says he may be innocent or guilty. There are just strange things about the case that need to be answered. For instance, they say he was throwing things away in his neighbor's garbage. Why didn't they collect that? Well, we don't know that they didn't collect it. I suspect, I mean, when he was separating out his garbage from his parents' garbage, and this is what's been reported out, and he's walked his own trash to neighbors' trash bins and threw that in there. So I don't know that they didn't collect it. They may have. It's a great question. It's a great question. Kat says, as a prominent journalist, have you known of a case that's taken this long to go to trial? I don't find the length of time surprising at all. It can take a couple of years for a big case like this, especially a capital case, to go to trial. So to me, I don't know. I do. I don't know if I would characterize myself as a prominent journalist. I don't think I'm famous. I would say investigative journalist. But thank you for that. Um, Gina says there's no evidence he was angry with the girls. There's no evidence that he even knew them. Where is the fairness? Well, you are entitled to your opinion. I didn't say. I mean, I don't know what, I'm to me, I'm like sharing all of this information out. I'm sharing your comments. I think that's fair. I'm not sure what you mean by somehow this isn't fair. If you want me to evidence, here we go. This is perfect. Evidence doesn't do fairness. Amelia sums it up perfectly. Evidence is evidence. I'm just following where it leads. If I thought this led somewhere else, I would tell you. I don't have an agenda here. It doesn't make any difference to me if he's convicted or not convicted personally. I don't have a dog in this hunt, as they say. To use words like fled to Pennsylvania is prejudice. Well, that's your opinion of the article that I'm reading. So you could take that up with them. Mike said, yes, they did collect that. That's where they got Dad's DNA. I think his personal trash was stored in Ziploc bags he was thinning to discard in other locations. Yeah, I agree. All right, let's go back to this because I still have another package to go through. So after what happened at 1122 King Road House, BK did return to WSU until December 15th of 2011. He was a student and a teaching assistant there. And then he headed home to his parents' house back in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, where he would be arrested on January the 30th. Now, he was pulled over twice. First of all, I want to talk about this bizarre detour that BK took, right? We know he took this weird 9-hour detour because going from Pullman, Washington to Albrightsville, Pennsylvania is pretty much a straight shot. He went like this. He went like this. He took a 9-hour detour. And when his dad was asked about it, he told one person it was because of the weather. And I could see taking a 1 or 2 hour detour for weather, or maybe pulling over for a night for weather. I don't see taking a 9-hour detour for weather. And then when someone else asked him, he said he didn't know. So he was pulled over twice. And I do believe that he may have been under surveillance. I don't know for sure. And maybe that's why he took this detour. He's got to be thinking in his head, he knows they're looking for a white Hyundai Elantra, right? He would have heard all the reports. He would have been following this case. So he knows they're looking for a white Hyundai Elantra. And then he gets pulled over twice on his drive. And law enforcement pulled over, from what I understand, because they wanted body cam footage of his hands, wrists, and face. And I did provide you enhanced photos of that, that you guys could look at and decide for yourself if you see something or don't see something in those photos. So during one stop in Hancock County, Indiana, the officer's body cam did show BK at the wheel, his father on the passenger side. He received a verbal warning for following a car too closely. BK's hair had to be standing up on the back of his head, right, at this point, because he's got to know he's under surveillance after that second traffic stop. I mean, he's not stupid. But what does he tell the police officer where they're going? Where are you going? Michael, his father, says, we're going to Albrightsville, I think he says we're going to Pennsylvania. BK says, we're going for Thai food. Again, just by itself, you could like throw that out. But what I'm feeling like is that stuff is starting to add up. We've got, this is a circumstantial case, and the pieces of the case, the circumstantial evidence, is just beginning to line up. In the days before he was arrested, the surveillance team followed BK and witnessed him meticulously clean his Elantra. That had to be so hard as a law enforcement officer to sit there watching him. He cleaned inside and out, not missing an inch, while it was parked in his father's house. And he was doing this in the middle of the night. So again, who goes out while they're visiting their parents wearing medical grade gloves and meticulously cleans their car inside and out, again, in the middle of the night, in the dark, in the dead of winter? I think, and then changes his tags, not just to update them, which would be a lot cheaper for a college student, but literally changes them. Again, it's just more circumstantial evidence. And I do believe this is going to be a circumstantial case. They're not going to have a video of him actually doing it. So they observe BK taking out the trash at 4 a.m. with surgical gloves on, place his garbage into the neighbor's receptacle. Authorities were able to recover a DNA sample traced back to the knife sheath found at the murder scene. So this DNA is the one that Ann Taylor wants to talk about. This was the DNA that was pulled out of the trash. They had to use his father's DNA because BK was wearing gloves. When he was arrested, he was wearing gloves. Well, when he was getting arrested, he was sorting trash and wearing gloves when they actually arrested him. But the DNA match that was in the octillion, the one the prosecution's going to bring to court, the one the defense doesn't want to talk about, is the court-ordered cheek swab that law enforcement got after they arrested BK. Did BK volunteer his cheek swab to exonerate himself? No. They had to get a court order. They got the cheek swab. That's the one Ann Taylor doesn't want to talk about. She doesn't want to talk about that one. And of course, that doesn't benefit her client. She's just doing her job. This is not me throwing any shade at Ann Taylor. I'm just saying, she's trying to defend her client. I get it. So on December 30th, a SWAT team surrounded his parents' home, served an arrest warrant for BK's arrest, and he was charged with 4 counts of doing away with people, I'm watching my words, and felony burglary. So the police, after the police surveilled him and through dogged investigative work, they just determined that he was a primary suspect. So this is where, Ann Taylor saying, well, I don't know how they found my client. I just felt like that was somewhat disingenuous. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me catch up with the chat. Hey, Teresa, welcome to Reporter Room. So let me get some comments in here. Mike said, if you want to join the top chat, you just need to subscribe and come on up and join me. I'm going to be going live regularly. Would love to have your input. Would love to hear what you have to say. Mike says, yeah, he admitted being alone, just denying going in the house. And don't that. Mike says, I agree. He was very strange. Timmy says, who took that picture of all of them? You're talking about the picture of all the roommates? I don't know who took it. Are you talking about the one with all of them together? The one that Kaylee posted on her Instagram at 8 p.m. that night? I don't know who took it, but I do know that he knew Kaylee was in the house. He knew she was in the house. He knew she was in town because she posted that picture on Instagram at 8 p.m. And we know from Christy and Steve Goncalves and from a source that's come out to networks. And again, it's not uncommon for journalists to have inside sources. We do vet them. But we do know that I lost my train of thought. Okay. It would be a miracle if we do know that Kaylee believes she was being stalked. I think that was my point. It would be a miracle if they only had one stalker. I don't know about that. Not to this extent anyway. 255 people here. I'm showing 364 people. Maybe that's not all from YouTube. Maybe it's from some other locations. Hit the thumbs up. Yeah, please help me out. with the YouTube algorithm. Hey, JJ, good to see you today. Mike says, sorry for the typos, but yeah, he stored his personal trash in Ziploc bags and was not throwing them in the trash. He was throwing them in his neighbor's trash, right? Gina says, reportedly, it's impossible, has been reported. I believe that everything you've said is qualified by this. Well, okay, that's fair. If that, I don't know why you're in the chat if you don't want to discuss the case. I don't have a video of him doing it. I'm not going to, I don't think law enforcement does. So if you're looking for that, and that's the only thing that's going to convince you that he did it, then no one's going to ever convince you. And I think there's probably 3 or 4% of the people that, even if they were shown a video of him doing this, would still say he didn't do it, that the video was faked or something. So I think there's going to be some people that just want to believe, whatever they want to believe. I'm trying to show you credible sources, journalistic sources, and the affidavit and what law enforcement has shared with us, and showing you a pattern of behavior. So I know for most of my viewers that they understand what the goal is of this channel. You guys are smart. You guys can decide what you want to believe. You can decide what you don't want to believe. All opinions are welcome. Just be respectful with it. MN said, my old roommate was a staunch vegan that wore nitrile gloves constantly because I was not a vegan. He often went through the trash with gloves, making sure. Yes, fair enough. And my understanding is that law enforcement, both prosecution and defense, agreed not to have BK's medical records in. And I shared this in my members only live stream. I believe that he had some type of body dysmorphia that led to disordered of ingesting of food. I'm watching my words because there's some things I can't say on YouTube, but I believe that may be the case. Maybe says she believes that him asking when he was being arrested, being truthful, was somebody else involved. And Just Me says, why was that lady deleted for pointing out, I believe, may have, etc., does not point to facts, but personal opinion. Sheila says, boy, your old roomie sounds like such fun. Do you know if the doorbell cam has Ethan on shouting Kohberger? What? I'm not really sure what you're asking. Do I know if the doorbell cam, I'm assuming you mean cam, not came, had Ethan on shouting Kohberger? I don't know what you're asking me. I'm really sorry. If you want to clarify that, that would be great. Lynn says, the cops say he stalked their residence a dozen times before the night. Yes, exactly. It's a pattern of behavior. It's a pattern of behavior. And Mike is right. They got a warrant for his mouth swab, and it was a direct DNA match to that DNA on the knife sheath. For those people who are saying they can't place him at the crime scene, well, they can. And they did. Why would he refuse to take a buccal swab? Why did they have to get a court order if he wanted to exonerate himself? Let's see. There will be a break post conviction when she will have more time to prepare. Yeah, she will. I don't know if she's going to, she wants for the mediation phase. I think Ann Taylor is looking for someone to come forward and say something nice about him, like why he should be spared. I think she said she can't get witnesses to talk to her because maybe people don't have anything nice to say to him, or maybe about him, or maybe they don't want to get involved with him. They don't want to be associated with advocating for somebody who would do something like this. I don't know. Native American says that says a lot about this case. No one is willing to take up for him. It's, it's interesting. That's, I believe her when Ann Taylor says she can't get anybody to come forward. She's having trouble finding experts to testify. But, my pushback on that, on the experts part, not the mediation part, but on the experts to testify, my pushback on that is, well, are you having trouble finding experts to testify, or are you having trouble finding experts to testify to what you want them to testify to? Because maybe they don't, they don't want to testify to that. I know some people will say anything, but some experts won't. Mike said he was hiding his DNA from day one. I bet they found his trash he was dumping next door. It was found to be the father. Yeah, it was linked to Michael. True. Okay, let's go through this. True. May says false. True. Kat says true. I'm going through the poll that I did. True. True. This is just an informal poll. True. 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 I think that's everybody that did it. I don't see any more in here. Okay, so let's go back to this. I still have another package to get through, and I want to talk about how Kaylee was found, and I also want to talk about some information, some more information from the hearing. So, in court, this was before he was. This was early on in the case. Ann Taylor, she's a very capable public defender. She's the only one in that part of Idaho who's capital case certified. So she's, very good at what she does. She graduated from the University of Idaho. That's where she graduated from. And she has her PhD from the University of Idaho, practicing law at local, state, and federal levels. She also serves on the board of Idaho Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers, and she is capital case, I'm watching my words, certified in Idaho. So Papa Rogers, let's talk about that for a second. Jennifer Coffendaffer is a former FBI agent. She tracked both accounts and says that many assertions made by the alias turned out to be factually accurate, causing her to think that it may have been Kohberger. So here's some examples. You guys can decide for yourself if you think this is, if BK was Papa Rogers or not. I do know that the last time that he posted, I know there's somebody new came on and people have since impersonated it, but that particular account stopped posting the day before he was arrested. And so this is inside looking, speculation, killer parked behind the house, approached property through the tree line. We know this is true now. Entered sliding glass door, left it open, committed the crimes, exited the sliding door. One knife, according to the coroner's statement. Time of murder, 3:20 a.m. to 3:40 a.m. That is wrong. That part is wrong because we know now that it was 4:04 is the last when we see that car parking for the last time. Vehicle left skid marks upon exit. So he got quite a few things right. So this was the chat room that I was in. I'm not in there now, but I was in this chat room at the time. And he said of the evidence released, the murder weapon has been consistent with a large fixed blade knife. This leads me to believe they found the sheath. The evidence was released prior to the autopsy. So I don't know. The comments were shocking and people ended up getting booted out of the chat room. People began saying he was talking like an SK. People were getting creeped out by this Papa Rogers account. Another post in there said, committed the crimes, I'm watching my words, exited through the sliding glass door, one knife, according to the coroner's statement. Time of the murder is incorrect. A loner. So although BK appeared to have a promising career in criminology, he is described as a loner who was up late at night. He was normally a very late night person, going to the bathroom and vacuuming until 1 in the morning, according to his downstairs neighbor. I saw her interviewed on camera. She's anonymous here, always alone. So this is why I think again, we go back to the shower curtain. The shower curtain being gone in and of itself doesn't mean anything, but when you start adding all of the different things together, again, that's a circumstantial case. Where was the shower curtain? I don't believe with a downstairs neighbor he would be showering without a shower curtain. I believe he removed it. I believe he took it because he was cleaning himself. He knew he left the knife sheath behind and he wanted to make sure. This is my opinion, and opinions are not facts. So you guys are entitled to have your own opinions. But I do believe that this case is stacking up piece by piece, bit by bit. And again, this is a circumstantial case. They're not going to have a video of him doing that. So if you're waiting for that, and that's the only thing that's going to convince you that he's guilty, then you will forever be in the and not guilty, that you're going to be the only thing that will convince you that he did it, then you'll forever be in that camp, because I don't think they're going to have that. But I do think they're going to be able to show a preponderance of the evidence that it was him. So he was described as awkward and arrogant. Robert said he wanted to make sure that everyone knew he was the smartest person in the room. And this is where I go back to what I said last week, that, he seemed like he had a superiority complex. I'm, you know, I'm not diagnosing him. I'm just saying that's what it seems like. And maybe if he was Papa Rogers, he wanted everyone in our chat room to know how smart he was. And if it's learned and law enforcement, will be able to find out if this was him or not, then this move of going into the chat room and discussing it, this will come back to bite him in the butt, in my opinion. Let me go through some more comments, and I have another package. Let me grab that. Make sure we're going to talk about Kaylee. And I have some notes here I'm just going to go through. So let's talk about what the defense talked about. Think about this. Have you ever heard a defense attorney say in a televised pretrial hearing, quote, "Even if he's convicted, we can F around with the appeals for decades"? I felt like that was like somewhat of a little bit of a veiled threat to the prosecution and to the victims' families. This was my interpretation of it. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I thought it was uncalled for, especially with family members present. I don't know. I wouldn't have said that on national television, but this makes me wonder. This does make me wonder if the defense team is trying to plead out this case, and if this was just a kind of a roundabout way of threatening victims' families and the prosecution. Listen, even if you guys get the conviction, this is going to go on with appeals, for the rest of your lives. The other thing that really stood out to me was Ann Taylor talking about the mitigation research, which of course would only be needed if BK was found guilty. I didn't put too much stock into this. I saw some people think that maybe that this was her, saying that he was going to be found guilty, but I don't think so. I think this really is going to be a two-part trial. So although that jumped out at me, and I can see why people would have maybe thought this and are speculating on it, for me, it didn't mean a whole lot. But one thing that I did note also was just the multiple delay tactics that we have on the part of the defense team. Remember, they first were going to do the October date of 2023. They said they were going to be ready. He wanted to have his right for the speedy trial. Then they waived their right to a speedy trial. And now we're seeing that they don't want to go until, at the earliest, March of 2025, and maybe the summer of 2025. And in the meantime, they've been doing all these motions to delay. They want to change a venue. They want to have the grand jury indictment thrown out. And this third try at getting the grand jury indictment was thrown out again. And, I think Judge John Judge has the patience of a saint. I really do. Because I would be tearing my hair out with all of these motions of just asking me over and over the same thing. Because what they want the grand jury to throw out the indictment, what they're saying is they want the grand jury not to be, he more likely did it than didn't do it, which is what the standard is. They think that he probably did it. They want the standard to be beyond a reasonable doubt. But I guarantee you that if Judge John Judge said, okay, we're going to make that the standard, and the grand jury came back and found him without a reasonable doubt, the next thing that the defense team would run in and say is double jeopardy. You can't try him now for the claim because double jeopardy. He's been found, already been, indicted beyond a reasonable doubt. So this would be a double jeopardy claim. That's what I think. So I think it was really interesting that the defense team was listing huge numbers of terabytes, and at the same time, claiming that they don't have all the information. But huge terabytes of digital information, which is what takes me back to that Bluetooth that I shared with you a little bit ago. And I thought that the defense team is still trying to claim, even though they're claiming they have so much they can't go through it all, that the prosecution is somehow withholding evidence. Anything that the prosecution hasn't turned over right as of this moment is because, and this is the narrative she wants to put out there. Oh, poor me. poor my client. He's getting an unfair trial. That's the narrative that she wants out there. She's smart. She's a good defense attorney. I give her props for that. But, at the same time that she's saying that they have so much evidence they can't go through everything. Anything that the prosecution hasn't turned over to the defense, it's because the judge hasn't decided yet whether the defense should get it or not. It's not because they're withholding things from the defense team. So I feel badly for the victims' families that were sitting in court and that were watching on TV. This has to be so frustrating for them to not see a trial date set at the time of this live stream. The whole Bluetooth surveillance, again, I just feel like this is going to come into play. It's going to be one more piece of circumstantial case. And I do feel like, if Kaylee had ever set her phone to a one of her devices to a hotspot, or if she had ever paired it to her own laptop or computer, he would have been able to grab it. So I do feel like this is important. So I also want to talk about, people are like, oh, he's too smart. He would know not to, he wouldn't have done this because he would know how to avoid crimes. Jodi Arias, who did away with Travis Alexander, she's been found guilty, so I can say that. She was an avid photographer. She was, took lots of pictures. She literally shot footage of her doing away with Travis Alexander and left her camera behind at the crime scene. So this idea of this kind of trope that we all believe that these people that do these kinds of crimes are somehow of higher intelligence. They're just average of intelligence. BK's not higher intelligence. He's just average intelligence that, that worked hard and studied hard. So did he turn his phone off on the night of November 13th of 2022 because he knew he didn't want it to connect to Kaylee's Bluetooth during that time? What do you guys think? Because this is escalation, and escalation is the story. It is the pattern. We've gone from him following the girls on Instagram to him installing cameras on this WSU young woman, to underwear missing at a neighboring house, to sitting behind the 1122 King Road house, peeping in, and I believe connecting to Kaylee's devices. I think that's why law enforcement hasn't returned them to his parents. Again, he is innocent until proven guilty. But let's consider some of the information that Steve and Christy Gonzalez released in their latest interview with ABC's Good Morning America. They are talking about how Kaylee was found sitting up against the wall. Trigger warning here, guys. Let me just make sure you guys can see this. Okay. Let me take a couple questions from chat, and then we're going to go through this next part. Sasha says, hello. Hi, everyone. It's 11:34 p.m. here in Wales. Oh, and love this channel. Thank you so much, Sasha. And hello. Yeah, tell me where you guys are from. Mamie says he was practicing with the Bluetooth. And Las Vegas Girl says, that's exactly the type of creepy thing he would do. Shelly says, I feel Ann Taylor is stalling. They've had enough time to prep. Catherine says his family may love him, but both sisters lost their jobs because of him. They put up with him for many years, and they know how difficult and disruptive he is. Fair enough. I also feel like his sisters might love him despite the fact that he was, that unconditional love that you see in a lot of families. But maybe you're right. Maybe, his sisters are just making all of this up. I don't know. I find that hard to believe. But, crazier things have happened. When did we find out she was partially sitting up? Well, we're going to talk about that in just a second, because she was. Great question, Mama Jess. Detra Ed says, never put your Bluetooth as your name. Great advice. M&N says, thanks for answering all these lingering questions I have. My pleasure. I don't mind at all going through your questions in the comment section, as long as people are being respectful of it. I don't mind at all. I'm happy to go through questions and go through and try to see what you guys are thinking, because I learn from you guys. I learn from your questions too. You guys bring up stuff that I had never considered before. So I think it's always interesting. Yeah, Kaylee's parents. We're going to talk about Kaylee's parents in just a second. And Jess says, my heart breaks for the victims' families. May says, I'm in Journey Channel Island. Mike says, May, BK is very manipulative. That's what one would say. He was probably planning and acting like he drove some over there. He was planning on maybe talking, changed his mind. Let me get to some more questions. JJ says, it's impossible not to leave DNA. It's pretty hard. And he did a darn good job, in my opinion, if he did this. And yes, I am putting a little caveat in there because he hasn't been convicted yet, guys. A psychopath can blend in well like Bundy. Yeah, Bundy used his own car. For everybody who's like, oh, he wouldn't use his own car. Ted Bundy was studying to be an attorney. He used his own car, and he would put a cast on, and he would go to girls in public and in daylight with his car and lure them back to his car because he would say with his cast on he needed help loading his boat or loading car, and he would lure them to his car and kidnap them and then ultimately do what he did. So yeah, I agree. Hey, Aunt B. Mike says there's no evidence he wasn't alone. Guarantee there are several cameras of him alone. Yeah, I think that people who are like, if he did have somebody else that was doing it, why not cut a plea? Why not cut a plea? I would cut a plea deal and bargain, get myself out of the capital punishment by putting the other person there. Hey, Yusaki Wee, good to see you. Native American says everything drops DNA. All you have to do is walk around and your DNA is there. Mama just says, where can we find the interview? It is on Good Morning America. So that I believe is ABC. Let's see. Yusakiwi says, did Steve Gonzalez speak out since the last court date? I don't know the date of this. I'm going to go through it in just a second. It may have been or this right around the same time. I'm going to say right around the same time. Las Vegas girl says, it drives me crazy when people say that law enforcement officers would jeopardize their career to set someone up in a major crime. They know the world is watching. Yeah, I think so too. And you got to think that to get law enforcement on board with this, you would have to have all of the Moscow PD, all of the Idaho State Police, and the FBI are all, and the CSI people, everybody's colluding. I'm sorry. I know the conspiracy theories are interesting. But I'm just going to bring you the information that I have that I believe is circumstantial from credible sources, and you guys can decide for yourselves. Agree with me, don't agree with me. It's okay. I don't have a dog in this hunt. But Mike says, and he's talking to another one. Look at their Facebook page. The lawyer spoke. It's a gut pinch. They say long wait. Yeah, it's got to be hard. Mamie says, I must be the only person here who thinks he's not the person responsible. I don't know if you're the only person. I think there's some other people that feel that way, Mamie. But I think that it is a minority. I think people are starting to feel like there is a pattern in this case. And again, it's not going to just be one thing. You can say, oh, well, he was wearing gloves because he had OCD. It's okay, but then the shower curtain, and then the phone pings in the area, and then the car on surveillance camera, and then the DNA. I mean, it just, it's going to be cumulative, just like it was in the Alex Murdaugh case. I hope that makes sense. Agrafork ASMR. I love ASMR videos, just FYI. He was stalking them for a while. If he was stalking them for a while, why wouldn't he anticipate Ethan being there since he was Santa's boyfriend? I doubt Ethan would be staying over was a rare thing. Wouldn't he know Kaylee moved weeks ago? Well, I didn't think the target was Kaylee either. I was thinking it was Maddie until I found out that iconic photo, the one of all of the students where Kaylee is holding Maddie on her shoulders and Ethan has his arm around Xana, and Bethany and Dylan are all in that picture. That iconic photo was posted by Kaylee to her Instagram, which we know from Christy and Steve Gonzalez, and an informant to major media outlets. Kaylee posted that on her Instagram at around 8 p.m. on November 12th, just hours leading up to what happened. So he would have known Kaylee was there. And that's why I'm now wondering if Maddie wasn't the target. And Bonnie, if you're watching this, you called it, that maybe it was Kaylee. But law enforcement will tell us. Hello from Pennsylvania. Okay. So all opinions are welcome. We don't all have to agree. Florence says, no way did law enforcement plant the DNA. I agree. I don't think that knife sheath was planted. Again, it would have to be 3 different law enforcement agencies would all have to collude to frame this guy. He wasn't on anybody's radar. If you were going to frame somebody, it would be so much easier to frame John Jack Showalter or ex-boyfriend of Kaylee, Jack Decor, or somebody like that would have been a much easier patsy than this guy. So, that's my pushback on that. Let me know what you guys think. If you have a different opinion, that's okay. JJ says, put it this way. Through May, the grand jury saw the evidence to take it to trial. Yep, they saw everything and they decided that they were going to indict him. But the defense hasn't had a chance to put on their case yet, so we'll see. A bit off topic, but do you think Chad Daybell and John Pryor are upset they couldn't get Ann Taylor in January of 2023 because BK got her first? I don't know. I don't know. I haven't been following those cases as closely. Mama Justice, if you have a location on GeoNets, we'll pick up too. Thanks for that, Mama Jess. Mike says BK refused to give his DNA. They had to get a warrant. That's not telling. I think it's interesting. I do think it's interesting. Doozy says, he ate all the speculation here. He ate all this. They think he may have filmed the crime with I don't know what. I'm sorry. I don't understand what you're asking me. I'm really sorry, Doozy. All opinions are welcome. This is our head mod, Amelia. Thank you to our channel members, subscribers, and mods for all that you do. Detra Ed says, turn Bluetooth off when not in use. Yes, you guys, please do this for yourself. Keeping it active enables hackers to discover what devices you connected to, spoof one of those devices, and gain access to your devices. Okay, Doozy says it's saying this is. Let me add this is back into your comment and see if I can read it. If I can find your comment, Doozy. Shoot. Where did it go? There it is. Okay. This is he ate all speculation here. They think he may have filmed. I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm so sorry. I wish I could figure out your comment. I'm so sorry. If you want to just rewrite the whole comment, that would be great. And I'll try to respond to it. Lead with love. Welcome says Ann Taylor may find out more than she wants to know. I think she already probably is. Las Vegas was with Njaz, and Njaz said, I think the state has a really good case. Doozy says it's scary. Yeah, it is. And we're going to go through Kaylee's parents' latest interview in just a second. May says, Mike, well, I don't know if anything we know is truth or exaggeration. I couldn't condemn a man until I was positive about his involvement. I just don't see it yet. Hey, Holly, good to see you. Holly, great to see you. Native American says, I always keep my Bluetooth turned off. If you want to become a channel member, you see people with check marks in the chat. Those are our channel members. All right, let's go to this article. Okay, so this is ABC News. ABC is where they gave the interview. I believe was on Good Morning America. So they sat down with an exclusive interview. They shared new photos of Kaylee, which we'll see if they're in this article. They're still waiting for a full digital copy of Kaylee's phone from authorities. And in my opinion, they're not going to get it till after the trial. They're not going to get it from after the trial because of the Bluetooth. So they're left. They say we're just left in limbo. This is Steve speaking. These are the last moments of your child's life. You're sitting here fighting with someone who just doesn't care. I think they do care. I think that they do care. They can't, they're not going to release any potential evidence back out. I think they're holding Kaylee's phone. I understand the family wants it, but I think there's going to be Bluetooth evidence introduced. I think there's technology related to that phone. They were able to collect some of Kaylee's belongings from the university over the summer, which raised concerns for them about how possible evidence was processed, including a trash can from Kaylee's room, which was full and appeared untouched. We opened it and there was a little squeezy applesauce in there, like you'd give to a toddler. It did not appear to have been gone through. Well, we don't know that because police are pushing back a little bit and they're saying that they gathered more than 100 pieces of physical evidence from the scene, along with 4,000 photos and 3D scans of the resident. So I understand why the Goncalveses feel upset. So let's talk about how Kaylee was found. I'm going to be very careful with my wording here, but a little bit of a trigger warning for you guys. So Christy describes how Kaylee was found, and this is heart-wrenching. And you could see, my heart really does go out to the Goncalves family. She says, quote, "The side where Kaylee was up against the wall." So Kaylee, we know, was trapped between Maddie and the wall. That bedroom was tiny. So Christy says the side where Kaylee was up against the wall. And if you can imagine, Kaylee in a sort of upright position up in the corner, slumped. I mean, she was trapped. The bed was the entire room. You could barely open the door without swiping the foot of the bed. It was a wall. The headboard was up against the wall. So Kaylee really was trapped. Now, did he go into Kaylee's room first? And is this what Dylan heard when she heard what she thought was Kaylee playing with the dog? Was Murphy in there and he just closed the door? And then we know that Dylan thinks she heard somebody say, "There's someone here." What do you guys think? Let me go back through. So we know BK had this road trip planned to go back from Pullman, Washington, back to Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. We know that he knew he was going to be leaving town shortly after these crimes were committed. He knew he was going to have an opportunity to change his tags on his vehicle once he was in Pennsylvania. And this is exactly what he did. And this is why I believe he used his own car, whereas a rental car or a borrowed car, he wouldn't be able to clean it as many times as he wanted to. He wouldn't have had control over this. And I believe that if you look at the psychology and pathology of BK, it is a lot about control. I believe that BK planned this out. I believe that he ordered that Dickies monkey jumpsuit. I told you that in April of 2022, law enforcement knows he ordered that K-bar knife from Amazon.com. I believe that he practiced leading up to this. And maybe the October 21st incident with Buddy, the dog, was related. We still don't know what animal hair, because we know they found an animal hair in the affidavit that we went through. We still don't know if that goes back to Murphy, the dog, or if it goes back to Buddy, the dog, or if it's just an unrelated animal hair. If you've seen my video, some people have attributed what happened to Buddy the dog to Bryan Kohberger. However, I have provided you with proof that the dog, because they are saying this because they're showing Bryan Kohberger had a dog collar, but that was Brent's dog. The owners of Buddy the dog have his dog collar. You can see it in photos that they posted. So Brett is not related to that either. I feel like a lot, and I did look into him, but I feel like a lot has been attributed to him that's just not fair. He's, not a perfect man, but at the time of his arrest, a source has told us that BK was wide awake, standing in the kitchen, wearing latex gloves, and putting his personal personal trash into plastic bags to take out to the neighbor's trash can. So why did he choose the 1122 King Road house? Why were these particular victims selected? And why was the K-bar knife selected? Because if we want to understand why, to understand who, but we also want to understand why certain choices were made. I believe he chose the 1122 King Road house because I do believe there was going to be some type of SA gratification involved. I don't think he was expecting to find Kaylee and Maddie together in the same bed. Why were these particular victims selected? That I do not know yet. I think we know that he was following them on Instagram. He may, but why not, target them at the University of Idaho? Why them? Why not this woman that he installed cameras in from WSU? Why were these particular victims selected? I don't know. Maybe they reminded him of someone. I don't know why the K-bar knife was selected versus using some other kind of weapon like a gun that would have been less personal, or, manually doing something to somebody. I'm watching my words. I believe that, again, it would have been up close and personal. It would have been able to silence someone very quickly. And he knew that he was going into the house with multiple people in it. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I'm going to leave it there. I do want to thank our producers this is a channel member level. Okay. Just want to clarify. They don't speak for Reporter Room. And let me hold on. I'm doing the same thing I did last time. Hang on. Let me just do this and this. Okay. Let me fix this. I'm going to thank our channel members one more time because I just feel like I completely messed that up. I'm really sorry. Thank you to our channel members. Please subscribe to Reporter Room if you haven't already. Like, share, and leave me a comment in the comment section below. We don't all have to agree. It's okay that we don't all agree. But, my hope is that by talking to each other and keeping channels of communication open, my hope is that by talking to each other, we can, begin to open a dialogue and have differing points of view. I also want to let you know that somebody has been impersonating me on social media. I got this, and I'm not, I got this message on Twitter. This is not the channel's fault. Somebody called in and claimed that they were affiliated with the channel. They said my name. They said their own name and then said my name. So I don't know, what happened there. They also talked about Grizzly True Crime and Truth and Transparency, but I got this message on Twitter that somebody was claiming to be me. I did look into it. I do think I have figured out who it is, but I'm not for sure yet. Very nice channel. This channel is they're very nice. They sent me the link, and so I could see uh, whoever it was identified themselves as former law enforcement. I'm not former law enforcement. I've never been. So I just was able to clarify that with them. She deleted her post. She was thanking me for being on the channel, which was very nice. But if you see me being somebody saying that they're me or affiliated with the channel calling in, they are not. And the name of the true crime channel is listed here. And they just thanked me for being part of their channel, except, you know, and they're super nice people, by the way. This is not their fault at all. This happens. But if you see somebody claiming to be me calling into a channel, I don't typically call into other channels. I've only appeared on one other true crime content creator, and that was John Davis's true crime channel. I would go on another channel if I was asked, but I didn't. I've never called in. And if I was on another true crime channel, I would show my face. So I just wanted to just say, if you see somebody calling in to another show claiming to be me, please let them know that this impersonation is happening in the comment section so that they can be made aware. I think that if we can let other content creators know this is happening, that it, can help protect the integrity of their channels. And, I feel really bad for this content creator because this is not their fault. And, how would you know? There would be no way for you to know. So on that note, I want to thank you guys for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you at our next live stream. We're going to be talking about this further, and I have a video on Alex Murdaugh coming out tomorrow at 5 p.m., so be on the lookout for that, and I will see you next time. Subscribe.